Formula One has exploded once again after the Brazilian Grand Prix because what looked like a routine racing clash has turned into one of the most controversial penalties of the 2025 season. Oscar Piastri didn't just lose a podium, he was nearly pushed to the brink of a race ban, all because of a decision that many believe never should have happened. The Australian driver was hit with a brutal 10-second penalty and 2 license points, a punishment so severe that it placed him dangerously close to a mandatory race ban. Whispers immediately spread through the paddock. Was this the moment that crippled Piastri's championship hopes? Or worse, was the FIA using him as an example? But what followed was even more shocking. Not only did Mclaren erupt internally, but the FIA later admitted there had been a mistake in calculating Piastri's penalty points, meaning he was actually safer from a ban than initially reported. Still, the damage was done. Fans raged online, analysts questioned the precedent, and insiders claimed key footage not broadcast on the world feed changed everything. This video dives deep into the incident, the regulatory loopholes, the political undertones, and what really unfolded behind McLaren's closed doors. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, because this kind of breakdown is crucial to understanding what just shook the 2025 season. The true chaos of the Brazilian Grand Prix began not with a crash, but with a restart, a moment that transformed Oscar Piastri's race, McLaren's internal harmony, and even the FIA's reputation. As the safety car peeled into the pit lane and the grid braced for turn 1, Piastri found himself in a high-pressure sandwich. Antonelli ahead, Leclerc sweeping around the outside, and Norris disappearing into the distance. Piastri knew this corner was one of the few chances to take control of the race. So, as any racer would in championship mode, he went for the gap on the inside. The move itself wasn't reckless. It was instinctive. Piastri braked late, committed hard, and tried to position his McLaren alongside Antonelli. But here is where the controversy takes shape. The onboard shows a slight lockup, tiny but enough to raise eyebrows. Antonelli, aware of Piastri's dive, still turned in aggressively. Leclerc, giving both of them more space than expected, attempted to avoid the chaos by running a wider line, but Piastri's locked front tire couldn't scrub enough speed. Antonelli cut down more than anticipated, and the contact became inevitable. Antonelli was flicked sideways. Leclerc was sent spinning into terminal damage, and Piastri continued. But his race was already doomed. Within minutes, the stewards delivered their verdict. Piastri wholly responsible, 10-second penalty plus 2 penalty points. The phrasing was harsh, the ruling was harsher, and the fallout was immediate. Social media erupted. Ex-drivers said it was overly severe. Analysts called it inconsistent with modern racing. Fans claimed the FIA is destroying the season. Even neutral commentators admitted the sanction felt excessive for a first-lap style restart skirmish. Then came the bombshell. The FIA's post-race documentation, widely shared online, suggested Piastri had accumulated 8 penalty points, meaning he was dangerously close to the 12-point threshold that triggers an automatic race ban. This sparked an explosion of speculation. Would Piastri miss Las Vegas? Was this the moment the championship was ripped away? Had the FIA over-policed a racing accident? Hours later, the FIA admitted a mistake. Piastri actually had 6, not 8. A clerical error. At the elite level of motorsport, the kind of error that should not be possible when the stakes involve race bans, championships, and millions of dollars. Though the number was corrected, the damage, emotionally and politically, remained. Because once a narrative of FIA inconsistency forms, it's almost impossible to erase. Many insisted the penalty didn't fit the crime. Some pointed out that Piastri had overlap earlier in the braking zone. Others argued Antonelli failed to leave room despite being aware of Piastri's nose. Leclerc's decision to stay wide, they noted, further proves this was a shared mistake. The question became, how did Piastri end up being wholly responsible? Inside McLaren, tension bubbled. Piastri had come into Brazil feeling strong, confident he could challenge Norris, who was on fire all weekend. But Piastri's first stint suffered from poor balance, tire temperature issues, and unpredictable rear stability. Combine that with the penalty, and the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Engineers were frustrated. Piastri was frustrated. The garage energy dipped. It didn't explode, but it simmered dangerous in a team, already juggling a delicate internal dynamic between 2 ambitious drivers fighting for the same future. Andrea Stella, McLaren's team principal, spoke carefully but clearly. He called the penalty on the harsh side, emphasizing that Antonelli had responsibility too. Stella suggested Piastri maintain trajectory, and only locked up because Antonelli squeezed harder than expected. Yet, despite publicly disagreeing with the ruling, McLaren chose not to request a right to review. Why? Several theories swirled through the paddock. One theory: McLaren feared the appeal would fail and would only spotlight the internal tension they were trying to keep under control. Another: they didn't want to look like a team incapable of accepting decisions, especially during an ultra-political championship phase. And a third, more strategic theory: pushing the issue further risked reinforcing a narrative that Piastri was cracking under pressure, something the team desperately wanted to avoid. From the FIA's perspective, the ruling was straightforward. Their guidelines on overtakes, once flexible, now heavily scrutinized, require a car attempting a move on the inside to have full control and significant overlap. In their reading, Piastri's lockup, however minor, showed a loss of control. And without clear overlap on Antonelli at the apex, the decision, in their logic, became textbook. Yet this raises a bigger problem. Formula One is inching toward a version of racing where perfection is demanded in scenarios where perfection is impossible. Drivers brake at the limit, commit on instinct, and make split-second decisions based on incomplete information. But penalties now seem designed for a world where everything is clean, predictable, and risk-free. That's not racing. That's choreography. And this is exactly why fans exploded online. Many argued that if moves like Piastri's are punished so harshly, the sport risks becoming a sterile procession. Others pointed to moments from previous seasons where far worse contact went unpenalized. Commentators questioned whether the FIA's inconsistency is becoming a bigger storyline than the racing itself. Even rival teams quietly admitted the call felt excessive for a restart scenario where chaos is practically guaranteed. As the championship tightens, the psychological weight on Piastri intensifies. Every decision he makes will now be observed, dissected, and judged more critically by the FIA, by his team, and by Norris. Who knows how momentum can shift in an instant? If Piastri becomes hesitant, even by a fraction, he risks losing the aggressive edge that makes him dangerous. But if he pushes too hard, he risks confirming the narrative that he's becoming error-prone under pressure. It's a razor-thin balance, and the spotlight isn't going anywhere. Within McLaren, the situation is equally complex. Norris may not have commented publicly, but he knows what this means. The team's internal hierarchy could shift if Piastri falters. Engineers, strategists, and management all think long-term, and long-term decisions are often shaped by moments like this, moments where one driver rises and the other stumbles. Whether McLaren admits it or not, Brazil has become a reference point that will echo through the rest of the season. So, after rewatching the Oscar Piastri versus Kimi Antonelli versus Charles Leclerc incident, who do you think is really to blame? Was the FIA fair? Or should the penalty be overturned based on the full context of the move? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest dramatic twists in the 2025 Formula One season.